representing the area of adult guidance, and we're very connected with the adult literacy services. One of our major concerns, and I think that it has to be said, is how do you negotiate and ensure that clients who deserve opportunity in adult literacy or through adult literacy programs, who are subject to a social welfare system, can be, in fact, helped and supported in that. In other words, we would all obviously buy into the important significance of adult literacy, but it's important that is recognised throughout the system, and those who are most vulnerable on social welfare payments can access adult literacy. In the experience, certainly in guidance, it can be the case that that is not taken seriously, and people are encouraged and told, you just need to go out and look for a job. So it's a significant part of the entire argument of promoting adult literacy. Thanks.
I want to say it is a huge issue, and sad it is that it is an issue at all. The experience in some other countries is that really it is on the public employment service, because after all it administers not only the live register, the dole, but it's where people who are parenting alone, people with disability, also approach for support with running their households. If the public employment service doesn't have in place a system that enables immediately much more than have you literacy issues, yes or no, and apparently that's the question currently asked through the, have you heard of the probability of exit, the PECS score? People now who sign on the live register are given a probability that they might at some stage leave the live register, as based on a set of questions. One is, have you issues with literacy? Yes. Oh, you should go to the adult literacy service. No more asked, no more follow-up. So an issue like that, I mean, that's a core question, and that there's not a system in place whereby, listen, part of how we give you income support is that we try to understand what might be underlying your ongoing need for it, and we will now have an authoritative, if you like, assessment of your numeracy and literacy deficit, plus in your personal progression plan will be accessing a provider that is able to do the job for you. So I couldn't agree with you more.
Welcome all of today. It's been a wonderful day and great speeches with stimulating thoughts. At the same time, I think some of us will be tuning in to listen to David McWilliams discuss the fact that 1% of the wealth of Ireland is in 1% of the population, those who brought us to our knees, who are going to benefit. And I think that the government, not by their fault, but through the Troika, engaged in some very short-term solutions to some of our problems, rather than looking at some long-term solutions. If we build good foundations in a house, you know, the roof goes on very quickly. And it's the same about our cake with the cream on the top. And the problem is that people with learning issues, whether they've missed out in school or poor parenting, not by the parents' fault and so on, that they need good foundations, and it takes a while to build good foundations, and then you can build on the top. While we look at the third level qualifications of those who didn't drop out, we have a 40% dropout at third level. The adult education, further education sector, and I think Fiona is here today representing Solas, that needs huge investment. In assessment, one of the issues that John raised in his issue, that, proper assessment for people coming into a service like the literacy, time worked with them. There's also the opportunity for them to get into employment as they go along, and I agree with that. But sometimes just the new projects that are coming in are going to be looking at getting people employed very quickly and not giving them a chance to build up their foundation level education, and allowing them to go on. So further education needs to be funded at a much greater level, and we need to have joined up thinking between DSP and Solas and all of the other organisations at the table, not duplicating one another and rushing with short-term solutions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Delighted for all the speakers, thanks so much, but particularly John, in relation to your very astute comments and actually quite shocking and frightening comments about, I suppose I'm left with a question about the fact that on the job path, which is going to be activating a lot of people and has the potential to really make a difference to those of the lowest literacy and numeracy levels, can we feel confident that they will learn from the experience of their UK counterparts who are actually going to be delivering the scheme? And I'm thinking particularly in light of the lone parents, that is our biggest cohort that SVP helps. There are people out there who need sensitive support, and we need to know and feel confident that the two agencies, SOLAS and the DSP, caseworkers, are working sensitively with real-time, immediate information, instead of looking at empty screens and can't give them even a current real-time sense of what courses are available. So I want to know, is NALA going to lobby into DSP, because we'd certainly work with you on this, because we need to make sure that these messages are landing where they need to land.
It is an area that John and I were discussing it in preparation for today, and I do think he has sort of put his finger on a particular point, that maybe whilst we've met the companies and we have raised the issue of adult literacy in terms of its importance, in terms of how they're going to deliver what they're going to do, we perhaps haven't kind of checked further back, and we don't understand how it's going to be checked, how they implement that. So I do think that is perhaps now an area that John has alerted me to, that we possibly will go back and maybe check in now to find out what is happening in the real time, as you say it, in relation to this.
Could I just add, thank you, Orla, for that. I mean, the ship has sailed. There are two large new players now on the scene. One is called Terras Nua. It covers more or less the southern half of the country. And the other is called SESI, SETEC Employment Services for Ireland, SESI, and it covers more or less the northern part of the country in Dublin. So they're there, the contracts have been signed, and with gathering force, every person who's on the live register for over 12 months will become a client of one or other company for 12 months. So, however much we might prefer it to have been done differently, this is happening. And I think it's now that these two companies themselves might be in need of the type of expertise that NALA has and NALA can direct them to. Because without a doubt, a large proportion of those who have been on the live register for years will be related to numeracy and literacy deficits. And it'll be much more valuable for the country and for them and their communities and their families if becoming a client of one of these two companies was at last the opportunity to ratchet up those numeracy and literacy scales, rather than become employed in the corner grocery shop for 3 months, which would be sufficient time to enable the contractor to collect a payment on their behalf. So that's the strategy that I would suggest that needs to be explored.